personally at the forefront of the struggle for democratic governance after the annulment of the June 12, 1993 presidential election.
The 12th day of June 2024.
In his Democracy Day state broadcast, the president acknowledged the prevailing hardship caused by necessary economic reforms, but assured that it will soon be over.
I understand the economic difficulties we face as a nation right now. Our economy has been in desperate need of reform for decades. It has been unbalanced because it was built on the flawed foundations and over reliance on revenue from exploitation of oil. The reforms we have initiated are intended to create a stronger, better foundation for future growth.
At the Eagle Square in Abuja, venue of events commemorating Democracy Day, top government officials were in attendance, including other invited guests and the diplomatic corps. They all share in the president's strong belief that democracy is the best form of government, despite obvious challenges.
Today, 25 years after democracy, since we started democracy, these lessons is that the ideals that we encapsulated in the Farewell to Poverty, which was the title of the manifesto of June 12. I was part of the team that crafted that manifesto in 1993. The ideals espoused in that manifesto is what this current government, led by the president, who was an integral part of it, is implementing.
Well, the message of we need hope, as the president has said. It's a message of us thinking backwards, looking at the sacrifices that our heroes in the past, paid, for us to have the freedom, the democracy that we enjoy today. The president was very clear in his speech earlier today and was very explicit.
And the assurance we are giving to Nigerians is that by this time next year, they will see more evidence of good governance, more evidence of our unity, more evidence of the leadership of President Bola Tinubu.
As the content of the new national anthem has said, we should all work together to serve Nigeria, and then we should be proud of Nigeria, to work together so that we can build a Nigeria that we will be able to hand over to our unborn, yet to be born children.
The military parade was an interesting and captivating display of prowess and precision. They marched in quick and slow order and also performed a silent drill to thrill the special guest, President Bola Tinubu. A giant-sized portrait was unveiled in honor of the president, and there was also a cultural performance by the National Troupe of Nigeria, depicting Nigeria's unity in diversity.
Beyond these kind of military drills and other fanfare that have become typical features in commemorating democracy and other national days, President Bola Tinubu's message to Nigerians is to keep hopes alive as his administration works to ensure democracy works for all. Femi Akonde, TVC News, Abuja.
And still in the spirit of anniversary, a group of 35 members of the 10th House of Representatives are pushing for a 6-year single term for president and state governors. The legislators are also advocating for rotational presidency among the 6 geopolitical zones for all elections to be held in one day. Interesting. To talk about this, I'm joined by Ikenga Ugochinyere, a House of Representative members, and we'll be looking at this interesting topic. A single term is what they are conversing for. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
So let me understand, why did you people jump at that particular conclusion that a single term is what is best for presidency and governors?
Well, it's not a single line item. It comes from our decision to contribute to the quest for restructuring of the Nigerian Republic to make it more efficient and all-inclusive. So our proposal runs across political reforms, economic reforms, social reforms, and so on and so forth. So the issue of structures is also part of it, which is part of the 50 bills we have present. We have just done the 6. We're coming with the remaining one. On the issue of the political reforms and restructuring we're talking about, we talked about how do we get leadership stability, inclusiveness. We now said it will serve us better. We have tried our system of government in the past. Let's go for a single-term presidency. But that will go with rotation between North and South. And when it comes to North, among the geopolitical zones, and same in the South, in the North. This will de-escalate tension that goes with every election cycle. That seems to be the only business now in Nigeria, the tension, the crisis. That if we have a 6-year single term, once the person is elected, he moves into office. And in order to ensure that it is 6 uninterrupted year of development, you now said, okay, everything about pre-election matters. Litigations about who is candidate or not candidate should be decided 30 days to election. And then post-election issues, litigations about the outcome of the election should be dispensed with before swearing in. In that case, once the president is sworn in, the president is going to have 6 uninterrupted years for development. And when I say let it rotate between North and the South. And coupled with that, it goes also with issue of single-day election, because we're trying to clean the electoral process. That if we have an election, because what we're adding now is extra 3. We used to have National Assembly, Rep, Senate, and Presidency the same day, and now we should be able to have governorship and state assembly joined together to it. That once we're able to do that, that what you're going to now have is that every election is going to hold the same day, and if it holds the same day, there's going to be mass participation. A lot of people are going to turn out for the election. Imagine having the whole election in one day, those voting for state assembly, those voting for House of Rep, Senate, governorship, presidency, and so on and so forth are going to turn up with multiple agents at the end of the day.
Okay, some persons argue that even a 2-term, 8 years, have little or nothing to show, let alone a single term. Do you think that this can really suffice? Because when it's still the 2 terms is still between North and South. So what's the difference when you have these 6 years? It's still the same thing. There's no difference. It's just the years that is the difference.
No, it's not the same. First of all, we'll start with the issue of people being unable to do something with ACs. Of course, by the time you go into 2 years in office or thereabouts, you start seeing the agitation for the next election, party congress, and so on and so forth. And most actions of the person in power is geared towards finding a way to secure his second term. So most times, development is interrupted. And then coming to the issue of North and South, you can see that what we're trying to cure is this issue of exclusion. We want inclusion of all the zones. I'm not saying that competition is very good, but among the zones, there will also be competition. So when it goes to the South, it goes to maybe Northeast or Northwest or North Central. When it goes to the, when it goes to the South, it goes to the Southeast or South or Southwest. When it goes to the North, it goes to the North Central, Northwest or Northeast. All political parties will pick their candidate from that particular zone. So the main message here is that it's time we go past this conversation that is destabilizing us about who is ruling and who is not ruling. And from all these geopolitical zones at every given time, we'll find leaders who are competent. So why not let's bring leadership stability in our transition process to ensure that everybody, since we are all one nation, so let's just bring everybody together to have a seat on the table. That does not, stop merit, that does not stop competence. It's even going to promote competence, because by the time all political parties are picking their candidate from one geopolitical zone, every political party will try their best to get the best candidate to fly their party flag. And that zone will ensure that the person that are voting for, putting forward, is somebody that will not disgrace and that is going to ensure that every segment of the country is treated fairly. Because if you don't treat the country fairly, it will be the turn of the other zone. They may do the same thing. So it's going to bring some level of sanity and stability. And at the same time, it will give room for uninterrupted development. That is why people ask why issue of 2 vice presidents attached to it. Because we want a 6-year uninterrupted tenure. When I said if you leave it the way it is, that in the event the president dies or the president is impeached, the other the vice president will take over, and that disrupts the 6-year single term we are proposing. When I said, okay, we're going to have 2 vice presidents, one from the North, one from the South, one from the zone where the president is coming from. And the essence of that vice president is just succession. It's succession vice president like you have in Mexico. So it's a succession vice president. In the event that the president is impeached or the president dies, that vice president from that zone is sworn in immediately to complete the remainder of that term and cannot contest. And more importantly, he's going to be a cabinet cabinet minister. What do I mean a cabinet minister? We're trying to reduce the cost of running government. So you can't run 2 vice presidents. So that vice president succession will just be a minister. So if he's taken from Oyo, for instance, Oyo will not have a minister. He'll be the minister for you, doing his cabinet work as a minister. But he will be called upon, just like a crown prince, in the event of death, he assumes the presidency and completes whatever is left of the term of office of that zone. By so doing, 6 years is like a rock of Gibraltar. It cannot be moved. It cannot be extended. Everybody will have an opportunity to have a seat on the table. And at the same time, it will bring competence and it brings stability. And it will reduce the cost of running government. The amount of money we spend running into trillions for every election cycle. Sure, just now you can see people are talking about 2027 already. So, and because people want to win re-election, they tend to focus more on what they can do that can help them win re-election, like pacifying stakeholders and so on and so forth, or doing things that is not actually in the interest of the country. But if you have a leader that has been elected without any atom of distraction, all pre-election issues decided 30 days to election, all post-election issues decided before swearing in, that leader has 6 years. Even if somebody that imposed him and he decided to turn against his godfather, he has nothing to worry about. He's going to ensure that he runs 6 years and brings sustainable development. 6 years can be enough for you to lay foundation for sustainable development, and another leader comes and continues from that. With that, we remove all these distractive issues, we reduce costs, we bring, make it possible for inclusion for everybody to be on the table, and more importantly, cleaning the electoral process, because part of the reason is that leaders who has emerged from different sets, from different segments of the country, most times are not people who reflect the true will of our people. So, but if you have a system that is going to ensure that the process is clean, then the kind of people that is elected will help to improve the system. That's why we said, if we have one election in a single day, imagine having all the election in a single day. You have 18 parties, you have 18 agents for state assembly, 18 agents for House of Rep, 18 agents for Senate, 18 agents for governorship, 18 agents for presidential, times it, and you see the number of agents alone at the polling unit, then times the number of voters. Some voters may be interested in state assembly, some high rep, some senate, some presidency. So the polling unit will be well populated, thereby providing civilian defense to issues of trying to hijack materials or trying to push people out of the polling unit. So there will be a lot of vigilance, there will be a lot of participation. Look at the turnout these days, not even up to 30%, because most times when people come for presidential and their preferred candidate does not win, they don't even come for the next one. So single day election will reduce costs, single day election will be all inclusive, single day election will bring awareness and vigilance, and the country, imagine if we had single day election in 2023. Most of the areas that certain parties are ruling, it will not be the same, because people are going to massively vote for a particular party. By now, we would have had different types of political parties all over the place because of mass participation. But once you allow isolated election, once the ruling party or the party that have strength in a particular area is losing in their first round, next Saturday is going to come with guns and machetes to ensure that they do not lose.
Something that actually struck me was when you talked about the role of the vice president. Just in case where something happens to the president and the vice president needs to come in. What's even the case where you have maybe now it's 6 years, maybe in 5 years and 6 months, the president passed away. Yes. So what happens? Is he going to continue that? What he says is going to. So that means that he cannot contest.
Yeah, that is why, because human being can be very funny. Even if it is one day left and he's sworn in, he starts funny things. That is why we now said your job is just like a crown prince succession that is limited. So even if the man dies 2 days to the end of the 6th year, the succession vice president is sworn in just for 2 days. And after 2 days, he cannot contest. So it limits. It's just like if somebody is an interventionist, just to sustain that process, and so that we don't incur, crisis and commotion that has to do with transition or successions and all that. So his job is going to be a minister from that state, but as a succession vice president designate in the event of death, in the event of impeachment, and then he continues.
Okay, so the Anambra State Governor Soludo, of course, threw his weight behind the growing calls for single term for elected office holders, arguing that any form of autonomy for government areas in the country is against the tenet of federalism. Do you agree to this?
I agree with him on the aspect of the single term presidency and the stability that and transformation it can bring. Then on the issue of local government, I might disagree, because one of the reasons why we're in this mess today is the death of local administration. Remember when we were growing up, the system of administration was in charge of primary school, primary health care, primary, even issues of citizenship and values. We used to go to match pass. We used to have people come from the LUGA to talk to us as students. So someone like me, they gave birth to me in a health center in a rural village in Iyiba in Akokwa. So these things we are working. We have what we used to call nurse Elisa and so on and so forth. So, but at the end of the day, even sanitary inspection, they used to come on last Saturday or thereabout. So everything was working very well when the local government system was in place. We have leadership grooming process. Councillors were even doing councillors were doing different types of projects. So definitely for Nigeria to make progress and sustainable progress, we must return back to an efficient and strong and independent local government system. I understand what the governors are saying about the issue of the constitutional provision that gives it to them, but we agree that most governors have also not handled it very well, and that is why we now said even if we must leave it under the control of the state, those enabling infrastructures and constitutional provision to make them independent is very important. We travel all over the world. You see the London Municipal High is working, you see the Dubai Municipal High is working, you see New York Municipal High is working. They even have their municipal police and so on and so forth, and we enjoy the infrastructure they put in place. But we come to our own local government system, it turns into a place that there is bush, grasses and so on and so forth. So definitely we must find a way to make our local government system independent and strong, while looking at also how to marry the constitutional provisions that has put them completely under the control of the state government.
So lastly, I'm just going to ask you, the reform-minded bill that you guys are looking at, proposing a 7-year jail term with no option or fine for electoral officer who compromises during this term. How did you come to that conclusion? Let me ask.
I think over time, some of these lecturers who come from universities have gotten so much audacity mingling with these politicians that you look at a result sheet that says 3,000 vote winner, and then you take something and announce 30,000 and 40,000 vote because somebody is giving you money. And these things you do, you collect your own money, you go home, push a criminal in office, that criminal continues to destroy the healthcare, continues to destroy infrastructure, people are dying. So invariably, indirectly, what those lecturers are doing is leading to death. So it's supposed to be a capital offense to announce a fake result, and you do it and you go home, and at the end of the day, the man you put doesn't pay you your salary. You are protesting as ASU. At times when they protest and go on strike, at times I don't have pity, because some of your lecturers have the opportunity to put the system working. But what did they do in the announcement of governorship, presidential and state assembly and national assembly? Most of them take money and announce fake results. So they are part of the mess that they're also suffering. And I said, make it 7 years in jail with option of no fine. That once you announce a result that is not in tandem with accreditation that has already been done and the figures collected, you deserve even more than 7 years, because your action is leading to death. It is these actions that brought in these leaders, some of them who are criminals, that have looted the state resources, looted federal resources, that our people are suffering. So it should be a capital offense, not just even 7 years.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Ikenga Ugochinyere, for coming on the show. It's indeed a conversation that we, of course, need to continue having. For more on these reform-minded senators, rep members rather, let's have more on this. When we come back, we'll still have more for you on Live from Abuja. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back.
The 10th House of Representatives has kick-started the 6th alteration to the 1999 Constitution as amended.
A single term.
A number of bills are already before the Special Committee on Constitution Review after scaling first reading. Some of them are sponsored by this group of members, which call itself reform-minded legislators. The lawmakers seek to put an end to the 2 term of 4 years for the president and state governors. It believes this will compel elected officials to work assiduously for the country.
The energy we spend in battling over which of the zones should produce issues of inclusion and so on and so forth, and the attendant costs can be waived if we all agree that power should rotate between north and south and among the 6 political zones.
They also want all elections conducted in a single day to save cost and eliminate rigging.
We are also aware of a certain declaration that was made in Adamawa State, I guess. If we had this form of legislation, that would never have taken place.
These members are also calling for improved electoral reforms. They propose a 7-year jail term with no option of fine for any electoral officer who compromises his or her office.
We have human potentials in Nigeria. We must harness these potentials. The world is ruled by ideas, and these ideas, we must be able to harness these ideas to be able to trigger and facilitate the development of Nigeria.
The harrowing experience of going through court processes after you are being sworn in. Some people have spent 6 months before they were pushed out by the courts. We are now saying let all these processes be concluded before members are inaugurated or sworn in, as the case may be.
Our elections being held the same day seizes these scattered elections where undue influences cause.
All right, the Nigerian Data Protection Commission says it will partner with the Ministry of Communications, Innovation and Digital Economy to train 10,000 civil servants in responsible data management so as to strengthen the nation's data ecosystem. The National Commissioner, NDPC, made this announcement in Abuja in commemoration of 1 year anniversary